pilot to see the chopper.
As you're describing this scenario, John, it starts to make a lot of sense to me. I used to live right in this particular area off of the West Side Highway. We could see from our apartment over to the New Jersey side, over the Hudson River, and there are these tour companies, and Liberty Tour is just one of them. There are many others that operate these sightseeing helicopter tours, and the choppers take off right from pads that are right there, just above, just north of 15th Street. And there are several of them right in a row. So a plane that took off from Teterboro, John, would have been coming from north to south, heading perhaps towards the Statue of Liberty, perhaps right in the path of where these choppers were lifting off from.
Right, and as we have discussed earlier, for people who are just joining us, this is what's called a VFR corridor, visual flight rules. You're supposed to look out, look for other traffic, and simply avoid it. And I'm sure that people who are not pilots think that sounds like a crazy system, but it's not any different from driving down an interstate highway and avoiding the tractor-trailer rig that's, 5 feet away from your car. It's really quite easy for the human mind to accomplish. Pilots.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Pilots have it. Go ahead.
I was going to ask for your forgiveness for asking what probably is a silly question for someone who's a pilot, but for those of us who aren't, I would just wonder whether or not there's any way for these pilots to communicate with each other. Obviously we know that pilots would talk to a control tower and be in touch, that way, but to talk to each other to say, hey, I'm coming up on your rear or something like that, if there was any way to do something like that.
It's not a silly question, Rick, and it was just the point of the conversation that I was about to get to. Published on all of the charts for this particular section of river is what's called a common traffic advisory frequency. And pilots who are entering that airspace are supposed to dial into that frequency, and they self-announce as they are moving up or down the Hudson River. They'll say, I'm a chopper just leaving the 34th Street heliport, or I'm a fixed wing just crossing the George Washington Bridge headed southbound. So there are some rules of the road, and there is the ability for traffic to keep in touch with one another. But again, people make mistakes. Maybe just a small flick of the radio switch, somebody might have been on the wrong frequency. It's hard to know, and to find the remains of these two aircraft and, look at all of the settings and so forth, the NTSB isn't going to be able to come up with any real answers. I'm reminded that when John F. Kennedy Jr.'s aircraft went down, that was also, it may even be this same type of Piper. I don't want to say that for sure, but it sure looks like the plane that he was flying, which was a 6-passenger Piper Saratoga. At any rate, it took a couple of days, as memory serves, for them to find that plane at the bottom of the Atlantic. I think it could be a couple of days before they find, it could be as long as a couple of days before they find these two aircraft.